Welcome back, everyone, to Fantasy Football Weather Guys. We're here with Week 9. Again, I'm Colin Golzinski, the host of our show and podcast. With me, I got my great friends and our staff meteorologists, and they are Sean Bratton. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing good. Happy Halloween, everyone.
And Dr. Mike Ventress in the Jets gear.
Yeah. So I got to support my team when we need it the most. So happy Halloween, guys.
And we got Sean the Pumpkin. Happy Halloween, Sean.
Pumpkin
I'm
Sean.
there, or I'm just a supportive Bears fan since evidently their kickers can't hit a field goal.
They'll try
again.
Wait.
Is that really the problem, Sean? Is that really it, though?
There are a lot of problems with the Bears, and that's currently the city I reside. Obviously, I'm a Giant fan, but the Bears need all the help they can get right now.
Well, that's a good point. I don't think any of our viewers or listeners realize this, that we are all spread across central northeast of the country, right? I live in Albany, New York.
Yeah, and I moved out to Chicago, but I was born and raised Giant fan. But I'm also trying to be supportive of the Bears fans out here since they've been struggling of late. And
Mike will always remind us where he is.
Yeah, I live in the enemy territory. I'm in Boston, so New England. Obviously, as a Jets fan, it's good times living here.
Before we get going on our rounds and our new segments that we introduced last week, I do want to give an update to everyone if they care. I took delivery of my new Yankee jersey this week.
Oh, okay,
a little
good.
late, but I am happy that it has a postseason 2019 patch, even though we didn't make the World Series. It was a good victory, a good gift, good bet. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, no problem. Glad I can supply that, your happiness.
So I think we're going to start off with our whirlwind round. Our whirlwind segment, we're going to review fantasy impacts due to weather from the previous week. We put out some impacts that we told you about that we actually upgraded in the week, but we're going to talk about last week's Eagle-Bills game and Browns-Patriots game.
So this was a game that we were monitoring for a few days, right? We were looking at a pretty big rain event. I guess we covered this in depth last week on the podcast pretty significantly. And I think on Sunday, there was enough evidence here to pull the trigger and upgrade the risk to an extreme. So an extreme is where we expect weather will have a significant impact on fantasy production. And if you have any issues, you ever want to see what we're grading every game on NFL, we have a website, fantasyfootballweatherguys.weebly.com. You can go in there, check our weather table, and this was one of our big games, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The website, again, Mike does tend to speak rather quickly. It's fantasyfootballweatherguys.weebly.com. For our viewers, the link's below, and for our listeners, it's in the description.
Yeah, and that Patriots game we were watching all week, we did upgrade it on Sunday, but then there were a few other games where wind became a factor we thought that would influence games, and that was for the Buffalo Eagles game. And then also we also had a caution out for the 49ers and Carolina game. So with those games, we definitely saw some impacts due to weather. Actually, for all these games, for every quarterback in all three of these games, for all 6 teams, all but one quarterback had less than 200 passing yards. So Tom Brady had 259 yards and 2 TDs. But other than Brady, every other quarterback had less than 200 yards.
Brady always ruining stats for us.
Well, speaking of Brady, there's a new GOAT in New England.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's the defense, right? I mean, they are just an unbelievable historical team. So if we can jump in and look at some of the statistics here from this game, specifically the Browns at New England game, the over-under was 46.5 points. New England was favored to be the winner by 12.5. They covered that spread, but obviously the point total was under. The Patriots defense just balled out again. They scored another defensive touchdown. They're up to 180.44 points in our league of record total for the season, which is 22.5 points per game. To put this in perspective, the 49ers is second with 107.78, and Carolina is third, nearly 100 points less than the Patriots. Ridiculous. They're the new GOAT. I'm telling you, they're the 19th highest scoring fantasy option this year when including all positional players.
In a half-point PPR league.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is an unprecedented, defense typically does not do this. And typically my draft strategy is don't draft the defense until the very end. But if you were lucky enough to grab the New England Patriots in the 12th, 13th round, 14th round, then obviously you made out because you're starting them no matter what the competition is. And Baker Mayfield was another victim of this. He only threw for 194 yards. He had an interception. This wasn't your prototypical interception. He was trying to do basically it looked like some type of almost like a handoff type pattern that got labeled as a pass, but it went as an interception. And Nick Chubb went for 130 plus yards, but he didn't get a touchdown, and he had 2 fumbles. Yeah. So he got ranked as the 24th running back on the week, surprisingly, even with those numbers, just because. And you saw it. The New England defenders knew that the rain was going to come and be a factor here, and that they could strip that ball.
Yeah, so the Nick Chubb, dilemma there. He fumbled on his first 2 carries of the game, right? The first carry looked like one of his teammates accidentally kicked the ball out of his hand. Then the second play, Chubb broke off for a really long touchdown. It looks like he was about to, he was about to score, and then a New England defensive man punched the ball out of his hands. Mm-hmm. It was tough to watch. But I mean, he still had a great game, 6.6 average yards per carry. He still, he did better than I thought he would when playing at a stout defense like that.
He did, but he only still got 1 reception. It seems like Chubb is not getting the receptions during these weather games. He got 1 reception for, I forget the yardage totals, like 7 or 12 yards or something like that, but nothing really significant. And then also with the other passing game, OBJ, on the other side of the ball with Cleveland, same side of the ball with Cleveland, OBJ, 5 catches for 52 yards, was a leader for the Cleveland Browns. The only real good pass catcher.
No. Jarvis Landry actually had more yardage.
You're right. He did.
5 yards.
He did. Surprised. Yeah. Who started Jarvis Landry in this matchup, right?
Not many.
I don't think anybody's even really starting him right now, but you're right. He did actually surpass OBJ in this game. And then on the other side of the ball, obviously Edelman balled out. He had like 78 receiving yards for 2 TDs. But then the other guys people were excited about, Dorsett, 3 catches for 43 yards, and Sanu, the newcomer, 2 catches for 23 yards.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind. Of Tom Brady's 259 yards, 75 of them came from James White, the running back. So
good point. It's a good point.
White bailed out Brady in this one. Brady was ranked the 5th highest quarterback last week in Fantasy Pros as well as ESPN rankings. He ended up as QB 13. He didn't kill you, but he didn't win your week this past week.
And I think last time when we were talking about this last week, you even said James White has been the only go-to guy for that team on the offense. And in a sense, that's a good stud.
Well, so the thing is, White's been getting that like short work in the flats. He's been doing good. I thought he was going to score a touchdown in this game, just because he only had 1 touchdown so far in the year. And he had that long break, right? He had a catch for, 59 yards. So the defenseman caught up to him, but he didn't get the touchdown, unfortunately.
So moving to the other game.
Yeah, but Buffalo Eagles, this was a windy game, and the announcers brought it up. The teams recognized it. The coaching staff recognized it. And, Wentz only had 24 attempts for 172 yards and 1 TD. And, Allen, saved his day with 8 rushes for 45, but he had 34 attempts, but only for 169 yards. He did have 2 TDs there. But both sides of the ball, they were not airing it deep. They couldn't get the ball downfield here. Alshon Jeffrey had 6 catches for 64 yards. And then for Buffalo, you had John Brown with 5 catches for 54. So there were no big pass catchers. I mean, the running game is what really drove the points up for the Eagles this game.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jordan Howard with 23 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. This was a mini breakout, right, for Miles Sanders, running back. He only had 3 carries, but he did have 74 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He broke away for a 65-yard touchdown. He was involved in the passing game, had 3 receptions for 44 yards. The volume wasn't really there, but he did really well with what he was given.
Yeah, but I feel with Miles Sanders, week in and week out, this is his story. He has 1 run or 1 pass catch that just goes for big yardage. Sometimes it goes for a touchdown. And, if you're starting him, you're happy, obviously, because he's getting these, these long plays. But, I'd like to see the volume there to make him every week starter.
Free Miles Sanders. Free him.
Well, then you had Jordan Howard, and Jordan Howard did remarkable in this game as well. He had a TD himself.
Yeah, so Jordan Howard, I think, has surprised everyone in this year. He's been such a
Including me.
reliable running back and volume based. So
I think I think if we go back, was it 2 years ago when Jordan Howard was a great, reliable guy in the Bears, and he kind of fell off. He was keeper status. Everyone loved him. Didn't do too well. Gets traded to the Eagles. Kind of, you didn't know. I think this year he's kind of going back to the pedigree that he was.
yeah, he's getting the opportunity to.
And that's what he needs.
Yeah,
and I think
He needs
the
the
Eagles are
opportunity.
really good at finding sometimes giving that extra year to or the extra. I feel like the little bit left on people's careers. I feel like it happened. Guys, you guys have to correct me. The guy from the Saints that went there.
From where?
Sproles, Darren Sproles. I feel like people thought he was kind of on the out. The Eagles kind of rejuvenated him a little bit for a year or two. I feel like that's kind of what they do.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball,
Mike wasn't really interested in that comment, but that's fine.
No. I honestly forgot about Darren Sproles just because he's so old, right? He's just hurt all the time. So, but you're right. He did really well in that system coming from the Saints. So,
my point was, I'm not surprised that Jordan Howard may be rejuvenating a little bit. It'd be interesting to see, maybe not to be so high on him as a keeper or anything next year, because sometimes it's a one and done over there.
Fair enough. I think the last thing we want to talk about this is the running game on the Buffalo side, right? Wasn't a whole lot of volume there. They were down by a lot. The real thing here, the real surprise, I guess you could say, is the work split between Frank Gore and Devin Singletary, right? Everyone thought Singletary was going to be the workhorse, and Gore continues to outtouch him in this. But, obviously wasn't effective for Frank Gore. Only 9 rushes for 34 yards. Singletary had a better yards per carry, but just not getting the volume.
And that's, again, his story as well. He's getting, when he does get the volume or when he does get the carries, he's getting the yardage. His efficiency has just been better than Gore, but they're having a tough time going away from going to Gore here on almost every set of downs. So I like Singletary a lot. I think he has a lot of talent.
Do you think?
I'm hesitant to I'm playing him this week. I'm actually playing Singletary this week against Washington. I think he has a lot of upside here. I think he has a chance for a touchdown.
Do you think?
But the question is the volume.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to say, can Gore? Well, I was going to say the volume from the other side. Can Gore sustain the type of volume they're seeing?
He's a tank, bro. He's just every team he goes to, he just sucks it up, man. He just freaking gobbles up all the carries. He's like a stunter for.
Yeah, but I will say this:
he's like a Fred
in the last
Jackson.
game, Gore had no catches, but Singletary had 4 for 30 and a TD. So the question is, are they going to him in the passing game now? And that would be a huge bump up for Singletary. And I think I'm playing him this week. I have him in my flex in one of my leagues.
Cool, guys. So that wraps up our whirlwind round. Say that 5 times fast. So I guess we're going to move to our weather impacts for this week. This week's weather forecasts, as Sean brought it up on the screen, or Mike did, someone did magically. And as you can see, lots of green. But I think the green comes with some caveats. So what do you got, Sean?
It does. We have, this is I think the first time that we have legitimately no cautions or extremes for our Thursday, Sunday, or Monday games. However, a few things. One is we may have some wind that Mike's going to talk about with some players in Kansas City. We don't think it's a major concern, but that'll tie into another segment that Mike will talk about in a little bit. The other thing is, if you're in the Midwest right now or Northeast, I'm in Chicago right now. We got about 3-4 inches of snow.
Oh, wait,
yeah,
what?
We already got snow. It's been in the low 30s all day today.
I think it's 70 in Albany right now.
Yeah, that'll change. That'll definitely change. And with that, what's going to happen is something that really typically happens, and we're looking at the Buffalo-Washington game, where there may be some lake effect type snow, maybe some showers in the area. We don't think this is going to significantly impact for the major duration of the game. However, this is something that Buffalo is known for. And typically this happens in early to late fall when there's a big contrast between the water and air temperatures. When you have a really cold air mass travel over relatively warm waters, there's a lot of latent heat release. There's a lot of moisture supplied to the atmosphere. It's called a very steep lapse rate. And there's a lot of precipitation that occurs lee side of the lakes.
That's the right side.
So I just got a statement. Chicago got snow before Buffalo.
Well, we got more snow than Buffalo did today. I could tell you that.
Did it snow in Buffalo, or do we not know if it actually snowed?
I don't think it snowed in Buffalo yet.
No, we don't know. I don't think it snowed in Buffalo today.
It's been really warm.
Well,
it's been pretty warm there.
Buffalo, get ready. Your winter's about to start.
Yeah, they're gonna have the cold front go through their area later tonight to tomorrow. But into Sunday for their game, and we're looking at around game time here as you look at the screen. And Mike, I don't know if you can kind of circle, right there. There's that little blip there, and we that looks like some lake effect induced precipitation, and that's something that we're watching out for. So keep updated Saturday into Sunday.
So that looks like it's coming off Lake Erie, though. So is it going to trend south more, or do we know what the pattern, if it's going to shift north?
So it really depends on the local winds, right? Typically when these cold fronts go through, you get like a west-northwesterly wind. It can be really tough trying to figure out where that mesoscale or very small scale band of convection or rain or snow, whatever you want to call it, is going to set up. So trying to pinpoint these events is difficult because you need a high resolution model and you need to know exactly where the wind's coming from.
And and we'll get more confidence as we get closer because the high res models, we can't get those this far in advance with reliability. As we get closer to the event on Sunday, we'll have a little bit more information as to, will this impact that game or not?
Well, then this is a great plug, right, Sean? Right, Mike?
Go
ahead. Do it. No, I want you to plug it today.
So, I mean,
give us the plug.
Like last week, there's these weather events that we just don't fully understand or fully resolve out at these leads. It's always important to follow us on social media at FFWeatherguys on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And that's where we'll be providing these updates on these weather events. And this is a day, like maybe on Sunday, we understand where that band sets up. Maybe it sets up over the city of Buffalo and it just stays there the entire game. At this league, we just don't know yet. But
and these events have been known to have a substantial impact. I don't know if anybody remembers the McCoy game, LaShawn McCoy, back, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, where it was like maybe a foot of snow.
Were they shoveling the lines?
In Buffalo.
They were.
They had to shovel lines like mid-game.
Was it against the Patriots?
God, I forget their opponent. I forget the opponent, but I remember
LaShawn
McCoy had like just ridiculous numbers for that game, and they got dumped like 6 to 12 inches of snow or whatever during the game, and that was all lake effect. So this is a fairly common occurrence, early to late fall into winter, over the Buffalo, Rochester region.
To clarify, in this particular event, temperatures are probably going to be above freezing. There's a chance that there's going to be some snow and rain mixed in, but if it does snow, I don't think we're thinking that it's going to accumulate on the field at this event.
That's a good point. I mean, it's still early on. Accumulation would be minimal.
Yeah. A couple weeks, maybe we'll have a different story.
Yeah, the cold is coming. That cold, crisp air finally coming.
The other thing to kind of maybe briefly point out is for the Miami Jet game, we are looking at the remnants of the front that's actually, came through Chicago going over to the Northeast. There's some remnant moisture associated with that may influence for maybe a portion of the game for the Jets, Miami. We're not looking at that as a major concern, but just something to bring up again for later in the week if it does look more likely.
So that wraps up our weather impacts for week 9. As you can see, we're not seeing a lot of weather, but stay up to date, like we said, with our social media. We are moving to our next segment, the lightning round. The lightning round is where we will be providing a sit-start decision between 2 players that we all should have provided. I didn't do my homework this week, but Mike and Sean did. So I will be revealing them to the group. However, this week, with relevant weather impact on fantasy production not really being part of the conversation as we intended this to, we're still going to do the conversation. So I'm going to start with Mike's pick, and we're going to give it to Sean. I will chime in also. So here it is. Are you ready, Sean?
I'm ready. What do we got?
Josh Jacobs or LeVeon Bell?
Oh, man. So you got LeVeon Bell facing Miami this week, and then you have Josh Jacobs going against Detroit. I'm thinking about this. I think I'm going to go Bell here, believe it or not. And that the main factor for that is that they're going against Miami, and Miami is one of the worst in
just stop there. Just stop there. They're one of the worst in everything.
They are one of the worst. They allowed over 160 yards of rushing on average this year. They've allowed over a touchdown to rushers per this year as well. And, you know, like I don't – and also the other thing is that Xavier Howard, their lead cornerback, is out as well. So I think that the Jets are going to be able to move the ball down the field. I think they're going to get some red zone opportunities. And I think that Bell is going to be able to get a touchdown or two in this game. Now, you know, I really like Jacobs a lot. I do. I think he's, you know, a great rookie, you know, and he's been providing a lot of fantasy value. He's going against Detroit. I think Detroit is getting some momentum on defense. Their passing defense is the worst. I think it's second worst in the league. The rushing defense is not great, but they did hold Saquon Barkley and the Giants to 80 rushing yards last week.
Okay.
So I don't know if Jacobs is going to
Quiet,
get
Mike.
opportunities.
So I'm going to take Le'Veon Bell in this situation. And, you know, the facts and figures were produced by Sean, so thank you. But I just think the Dolphins are ridiculously bad. And I think Le'Veon Bell will do well. Go ahead, Mike.
So I was just saying, Detroit has given up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs this year. Miami is giving up the second most points to opposing running backs this year. I was trying to bait you guys here to go with the better matchup, even though they're both great. And I'm in agreement with you guys. I'm going with Le'Veon Bell here. I think the Jets they're going to come back here big with their offense. You're going to see Sam Darnold. He's going to do well, I think.
Of course you are in the Jets gear going with Le'Veon Bell.
I have to just support my team. I got the Darnold jersey on. He's not going to be seeing ghosts this time, baby.
Were you getting a little nervous with those trade rumors hitting at the trade?
I was refreshing on Twitter.
As a side note, would you start Darnold in a spot start here at QB?
Yeah, I would. I think if you're desperate, don't be scared of the last two matchups that he had. This is where his easy schedule comes.
How about this? How about this? Try this on for size. Asking for a friend. Carr or Darnold this week? Carr against Detroit or Darnold versus
I'll go Darnold.
Miami?
I was going Darnold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Asking for a friend as Sean sets his lineup.
Setting the lineup, right?
Right
So,
now, as I do it. Hold on, guys.
So I want to just finish up on Josh Jacobs. And Colin, you're not going to be happy about this, okay?
No, I have no emotional attachment other than he did really well when I played you.
Okay, yeah. So there was a pretty significant injury last week on the Oakland Raiders lost their center Rodney Hudson to an ankle injury. He was carted off the field. When he went off the field, Jacobs struggled. So this was the bait. I was wondering if you guys would take it, and you went with Le'Veon. I think Le'Veon's a pick here too.
Yeah, and also just to kind of point out, Le'Veon Bell, everyone's a little bit down on. I'm looking at some of his fantasy stats here.
Yeah.
He's only eclipsed 20 fantasy points in our league once. But listen to his opponents. He's faced Buffalo, Cleveland, New England twice, Philly, who's had one of the best rushing defenses, Dallas, who's been solid at points, Jacksonville, and that's who he's faced.
Tough matchup.
And that's with a lot of those is without Darnold there because he got mono somehow. Who knows? Well, maybe we do know. But we'll do that.
I don't know if we want to debate that. That's for a different
the kissing disease.
Different discussion. But the point being is that he's faced really relatively strong opponents. I think this is going to be a chance for him to break out and show his value.
Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
So, Mike, here we go. Mark Walton or Sonny Michel?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I have a lot of shares of these guys in all my leagues. Mark Walton is going up against the New York Jets, my New York Jets, and you know that their defense is not looking great. Lost a couple of key pieces to that defense recently, one in a trade, one in an injury. Walton should have a solid floor. He's getting 80% of the snaps. He's the lead back. He's a workhorse. So you have to feel like the floor is there. I don't feel the upsides there, though, right? So like Sonny Michel, we know he's touchdown dependent. He's got a tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. But I think that the Patriots are going to be fighting hard in this one, and I think Michel is going to be a component of their win here. And I think he'll get those goal line, maybe 1 yard plunges into the end zone. I'm going with Sonny Michel on this one, guys.
Mike, I'm gonna go against you on this one. I'm actually going Mark Walton on this one. The Jets do have actually a relatively solid rushing defense. However, their passing defense is not great. So they've been bottom 10 in passing, allowing 263 yards. And also about 1.5 TDs on the ground. So if you get in the red zone versus the Jets, there's a chance you're getting in the red zone. And I think they're going to be going to Walton with trading away Kenyon Drake. I think they want to see what this guy has. He got 11 carries and then 14 carries. So his carry total is going up. I think he's going to have a chance to get a TD here. Now, I'm worried about Sony Michel because I think they're going to be needing to go to the passing game here. Sony Michel is not a passing option. You're going to go to Rex Burkhead, who's now healthy. You're going to go to James White, who's already proven his value. So I think that they're not going to have as many opportunities to go to Michel here, and I think they're going to rely more heavily on Burkhead and White.
So now I will join in because I stayed quiet for as long as these guys have ever known me to. I think you're right. He doesn't have a high ceiling. It is going to be – he's – what?
Who
sorry. I'm going to go with Sony Michel. I don't think Walton – he's had one lone game as the lead back. I don't know if I just have a fear that the Jets are going to go up. They're not going to use him. They need goal line work. I get it, but I don't think they're even going to get there. And
I'm surprised. I mean, the Miami's been looking. Their offense has been a little bit more confident with Fitzmagic heading.
I'm putting faith in your Jets. Maybe I'm out on my island, but sometimes you got to go out there.
I love it.
I think I think with James White being the workload, but he didn't get a goal line. He didn't get the touchdown last week. I think they may be looking at other options.
There's so much what about Bolton? Hey, are they going to go with him?
You don't know.
You don't know, and that's my point. I think with Walton,
but I think, and I don't mean to interrupt, but maybe I do mean to interrupt, that I think the likelihood, I would rather take the risk of Sony Michel getting at the goal line than thinking that the Dolphins will be at the goal line.
And you don't even know if Walton's going to be the goal line back. We've already seen the Bellagio take those touchdowns. So that's
one thing I was trying to steer away from in my discussion is that Bellagio is getting some goal line work there, but he's also the most inefficient back I feel like I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping to go the Mark Walton, that bandwagon gets going and they start realizing that he's a more valuable option, but to be seen.
To be seen. Well, this is a great discussion on our lightning round. I think that wraps it up. And I think we're going to move to our last segment of the day. And this is our Thunderstruck Round. The Thunderstruck Round is where we would normally discuss our bust player of the week based on weather impacts, with weather not being a significant impact this week as of yet. Mike and Sean have each chosen a player to discuss of their bust of the week, and I will reveal them now. The bust of the week that we're going to talk about is Kirk Cousins first.
Okay, so I'm going with quarterback Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been on fire. He's been performing really well. The Vikings offense has been passing more, and he's got on paper a cushy matchup against a Kansas City Chiefs who's been giving up the 12th most fantasy points for the quarterback position this year. The problem is Cousins is going into Kansas City. He's playing at Arrowhead, and quarterbacks have been held to respectable standards there. There's something about the quarterbacks going into Arrowhead and just not performing up to standards. On top of that, that factor there's going to be some wind in this game. And this is one of the games borderline that we decided that was not worth a caution, but it's enough to get me a little interested here in Kirk Cousins as my Thunderstruck option. There's a 10 to 15 mile per hour winds there. Potentially downgrades some of those, or limits some of those deep passes. So I'm going against the grain. I'm a little nervous about it, but my Thunderstruck guy is Kirk Cousins this week.
Mike, what about if Adam Thielen is back on the field for that game? So you have Stephon Diggs, you have Adam Thielen, you have Cooks. Is that all concerning for you?
It's a little bit concerning. I especially concerning if Patrick Mahomes plays, right? If Matt Moore takes the lead again this week, I do think that, it's less of a concern. I don't think it'll be as big as a shootout.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right on this because
sorry, Sean, I want to interrupt you. I kind of did some looking too. Adam Thielen has suited up for practice in the past 2 days. I think he's playing.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, the coaching staff of the Vikings sometimes just relies heavily on the run, and they just go run. So there's a chance that they do that, and that they're maybe Kirk Cousins only has 25 attempts.
Sean, would
and
you say that the
he's not-
coaching staff of the Vikings ground and pound sometimes?
They do. And why not with Dalvin Cook? Why would you not? And Alexander Madison, also there. Like, I think there's some upside to just running the ball and trying to run down the clock against a powerful KC offense. So that could come to fruition.
I think I'm going to go with the grain on this one, Mike. I'm interested to see how this plays out, especially with Adam Thielen. I'm putting him in my starting spot. I'm hopeful. But it's an interesting pick, and we'll stay tuned, and I like it. So the last one that we want to talk about, now this one is sure going to ruffle some feathers. I guess Seahawks have feathers. Chris Carson.
Right now, he has a DFS value of $7,200, and he's facing what looks like a juicy matchup against the Tampa Bay Bucs. Mike, if I were to ask you, and Colin, I'm going to ask you after, where do you think the Tampa Bay rushing defense ranks? Mike, why don't you go first?
So the only reason why I think Tampa Bay has probably got a top 15 rush defense is because everyone just passes on them. So I would say they're on the better side of average, maybe with top 15.
All right, Colin, what do you think?
Well, what people don't realize is we had a really good segment where I was left out, but I edited that out. But now I'm included in the conversation. So I think, and this is the way I took tests in college when I didn't study, is I used, deductive reasoning. I think with Sean being as stat-wise as he is and me not knowing this, I'm going to say Tampa's rush defense is in the top 10 of the NFL this year right now.
Well, yes, you both are correct. But to hopefully your surprise and my surprise, they are ranked number 1. They're the number 1 rushing defense with yards allowed at 68 yards per game. Now that compares to some of the bottom ranked teams such as Miami and Cincinnati. And surprisingly, they only allow 23, or not really allow, but people or other teams are only rushing 23 on average attempts per game against Tampa, versus Miami and Cincinnati, which are around 33 to 34. So around 10 less for Tampa. And to Mike's point, that's probably because they're taking advantage of the passing attack that Tampa offers. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is
their passing defense, though, just to put it in perspective.
What's that?
What is their passing? Do you know what they're passing?
They are almost dead last in their passing defense.
They're giving up the fifth most fantasy points to opposing wideouts.
Yeah. So
yeah, they're really down.
So that's why they're not near as good as the Patriots, is because they're good on one end, not on the other.
Yeah, and as a coach, you know that, right? And they haven't faced bad, rushing attacks. They faced San Francisco, Carolina twice.
I think Wilson will exploit their. And sorry, I'm going to agree. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. No, the New York Giants with Saquon Barkley, the Rams, New Orleans, Tennessee with Derrick Henry. So these aren't, just teams that don't really run the ball and don't have established running games. Carolina, Christian McCaffrey played them twice. He had 38 rushing attempts. Mike, with 38 rushing attempts, how many yards do you think Christian McCaffrey had?
65. I'm not Mike, but I'm answering.
Yeah, I was cheating. I'm looking at it right now. I'm stunned to see how low the yardage is.
So Colin said 65. It's right there. It's 68. It's 68. These were his, some of his lowest totals of the years when he played Tampa Bay. So, they prove that they can establish that run defense against really good running attacks. And Chris Carson gets the workload. I think he will get that workload. I don't expect him to be efficient, and I don't expect him to get in the end zone this week.
Good call, Sean. I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
And Mike, next Thunderstruck round next week, it's a closed book exam. You don't get to look at notes.
To your point, though, if you could, to your point with what you were saying with the passing attack, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I'm starting on this game. And I think they're going to have prolific games. But Carson's I think this is his highest value at $7,200. I'm not taking that if you're in a daily fantasy football league.
Love the intel. Good job, Shawnee, on that.
Well, that wraps up Thunderstruck. And that wraps up our week. And I think we had a lot of information. Weather impacts maybe not so significant, but stay up to date on all our platforms. We appreciate the followers we're getting on Twitter. We're building a presence. Thank you. I think everyone on our team is thankful. And follow us, FFWeatherguys, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Listen to us on our podcast. This week, we may be trying something new. Stay tuned. It may be a couple segment YouTube videos, but our podcast listeners, we're going to give you the full episode. We're going to try something different. What do you guys think? Have a good week.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, look for those different segments and maybe some, segments apply more to you. But it is Halloween today, so we want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. Have a safe, fun Halloween, and also, good luck in this week's matchup. Start thinking about playoffs because they are right around the corner.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs?
Yeah. Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween. Click subscribe. Thank you, everyone.